We are Legion.
We are all.
We are one.
We are
Watching. Part of the Illuminati.
Okay, folks, how are you? This is Gregg. I am with you again with a featured fan. Today we are talking to Andrew Biggs, all the way across a million oceans in New Zealand. Andrew, Mr. Biggs, how are you doing today?
Not too bad, sir. How are you? I'm just starting off the morning. Not too bad. My coffee needs a refill, Gregg.
Oh, boy, and see, now I'm already many sips in. We started doing this. We've been talking for about half an hour, and I was sure I was recording, and I was not. And so you guys missed a lot, but we had a great time. And Biggs, I want to thank you for your time.
Thanks for having me, guys. I had a really great time. Thanks, Gregg, and I'll see you later. Bye!
Go ahead, sign off now. No. So anyway.
We'll do it again. We'll do it again. I'm sure you can hear my terrible stories again.
Absolutely. They were great stories, actually. We talked a lot about other stuff than Star Wars, too. So all the deep human connection stuff that we lost, wow, I feel really bad about that. It was really nice.
I don't, because now I can come across like an asshole, like I really wanted to be.
We figured out how to get light and detergents into the body. We had that all worked out. We really had answered a lot of important questions before we started over. So,
I'm pretty sure we settled on via the anus, wasn't it? That was the best way to do it.
Mostly for the anus. That's kind of our go-to, is straight up the poop chute.
Right up the poop.
And that's a universal worldwide, always going to be the answer. So, Biggs, I'm so happy to get to talk to you, and I'm having a great time. We were talking about our kind of mutual experience in the lockdown and quarantine. How important people have been, in reaching out. And I think I think people are kind of coming back to Star Wars Card Trader, it feels like now, for some of that as well. I see old faces around. Have you noticed this?
Yeah, well, you said it best to us the other day, because you're sort of like my dad in the app. And so I listen to everything you say, and I respect you greatly. And that is that we're all searching for, because we're all living the same thing, is what you said. We're all living in exactly the same moment with the coronavirus. And so we're all searching for the same thing, which is connection with somebody else. And as I said, I'm not really a big people person. I wouldn't normally make eye contact with people when I go out. And as I was saying just before, you can go out on the streets in New Zealand, which is a reasonably friendly country. And I'm sure it's similar for you over there in Florida, but you go out in the streets and people will wave, "Hey, how's it going? Hey, whoa, oh, you got kids last night?" And they'll from the 2 meter distance. And so that on a real life level is happening on a micro level within the app, is that you're seeing whether it's via the IO9 article or whether it's just simply because everyone's living the same thing. And I think Crystal said it on the podcast as well. So many new users are coming into the app at the moment, and that's I think predominantly, without any evidence or science background, predominantly because people want to find those little touchstones, those little things of, hey, we're all in this together. What are some things that can distract me from what I'm feeling and what we're all experiencing at the moment? And I'm sure you and Crystal are doing similar things at home. Probably drinking, listeners. Let's be honest. They're probably just getting drunk.
Yeah, we're drinking a lot. I mean, we're making up drinks, and let's pour that in this and drink it, and add some cleanser. Shine some light. Get a light up ice cube in there and see if that's going to help anything. Fuck.
Clean insides, clean outsides. But yeah, I was just saying, like the wife and I, we're watching Fast and Furious again, because that was our date movie when we first started dating years ago. And so all those little human connections, I suppose, you make. And so on a micro level, the Card Trader app, I think, is doing quite well with both old users returning and new users, because people are reaching out to go, hey, what's a hobby that I'm enjoying at the moment? And let me kind of distract myself for 20 minutes a day and spam the fan feed and try and get some one counts for Blue Base.
Yeah. I wish it was only 20 minutes a day. Honest to God. I mean, it's hours a day. I sit there and just do nothing. Spam the feed, look at posts.
Do you just scan through? Do you just scan through? Just find yourself just scanning down your cards and going, "Oh shit, I didn't realize I had that card." That's and
sometimes, but most, when somebody sends me a horrible trade for it, one of these new folks send me 5 whites for some card I forgot that is incredibly valuable that I have. No. Nice to meet you. Social distancing. Initiate.
And
Bye.
block.
Let me enforce that with the block button. See you never.
Yeah.
I've been letting a lot of people grow and mature. But it's basically like putting them in the penalty box, and then at some point in the future, I'll look and see if they've grown up a little bit, and I can unblock them. I've been blocking a lot of people. We were talking about, it's so nice and everybody needs something and you want a hug and everything.
And block.
And it's like that. No hugs for you. Sorry, guy. There's some people I'm seeing around though that are pretty friendly, and we've been having a lot of fun in the Discord group. Really an interesting add-on. That was something in the past, I never wanted anything. I've been in a couple of them and they just moved so fast I really couldn't keep up with anything. But the one that we started really had a really good solid crew of folks from our Twitter group, and then a lot of really good people from Reddit came in, and we started with a really solid core, and it seems to have a really great culture. I've been really happy with how that's been going.
Yeah, and a lot of that starts at the top with you, right? Because you set the tone, and so I find, and I'll stroke your ego a little bit here, but for anybody watching or listening, Gregg is a genuinely nice person.
I'm sure there's people that would disagree.
Well, I haven't met them yet, but I think you create a vibe both on the podcast, but also in the groups and stuff that we're a part of. It's really chilled and really relaxed, and I think that's the way you've got to approach any hobby, let alone one that drives you infinitely insane like Star Wars Card Trader does. Because and we were talking about it before your recording crapped out, but that was that it's really is in spite of the app itself. And
nervously checks to see if it's still recording. Yes, it is. So she still records like, son of a bitch.
But the people behind that, God bless them, I love you for listening, but they often don't really know what they're doing. And so I think the community has sort of, we'll work within the boundaries that you set and we'll create it to be a bigger thing. And I think that's one of the things that you're really good at is creating it to be a bigger thing and to be vastly more entertaining to be a part of than just the app itself. And so that's, part of that. Again, going back to what we're talking about right now, we're all experiencing the same thing. It's, it doesn't matter whether you're in New Zealand or America, we're all feeling the same shit. So if you've got someone like yourself that's able to, bring everybody together, I think it's a credit to yourself, but also credit to the app, because that's why we're all here. We love Star Wars, and the app has a reasonably good community. And although we joke about blocking a lot of people, there's also a lot of people that, if they're reasonably respectful or reasonably naive like I was when I started.
Well, the thing I've been really happy about with the Discord is being able to bring in people to the community and a closer relation community than we've had in like Reddit. People like Rick Bors, who's just a really top-notch guy.
Yeah.
He knows so much. He's always ready to help and with information and stuff like that. Or this guy over here who's got a spreadsheet of everything. Or people like Sasha's dad.
Yeah,
really incredible. And even folks from outside of the Star Wars Card Trader app, like Asia Marie, is really a resourceful person and who's had a lot of experience over in Quid and is sort of dipping her toes in and stuff, and just kind of mixing it up a little bit and getting that party a little more interesting. It's been a lot of fun, really, really interesting and fun to see.
Yeah. Dill's Gold as well, I'll give a shout out to as well, joining on the Discord there. I think you've got a nice,
wonderful,
yeah,
super lovely friend for years.
Yeah, and just that range of newer people like Sasha's dad and stuff, who I'm now, whether he wants it or not, I'm a massive fan of his after his incredible podcast experience the other day. But just such a nice range of new and old users, and I think but also a nice range of different personalities and different people, and that's what in my experience anyway, having used this app for far too long, is that's what the app does best, is bring Star Wars fans together, and they're nice Star Wars fans. They're not these kind of weird remake The Last Jedi people for the most part.
Oh God, what the hell is wrong with those guys? So you were telling me of your origins in Star Wars, and and how you got started in Star Wars and how you got involved in the game, and I want to hear that story again, because
do you want to hear this?
I do. Because it's fascinating. That was not my path. It's interesting to me.
So I got really into Star Wars Episode 3. I was a bit of a lapsed fan when episode 3 came out. I went Phantom Menace. I was like, this is going to be amazing, and it was terrible. And then Attack of the Clones, I kind of skipped. But I had heard that the New Zealand actor Temuera Morrison was in Star Wars, and he was playing Jango Fett.
Now, what is he famous for there that you knew him already?
So he did. So he's done 2 things in New Zealand. He's done started on a sitcom here in New Zealand called Shortland Street. And the most infamous line from Shortland Street of his is, "You're not in Guatemala now, Dr. Robita." You can YouTube it.
I'm dying right now. I'm laughing so hard right now.
It's hilarious. And then the second thing is he did a movie called Once Were Warriors, which if you have not seen that movie,
I have seen that. Yes, that's awesome.
Film. It's a really good micro look at the modern Māori community in New Zealand. It's a little bit not true, but because it's a film. But
it's fictionalized.
Fictionalized. He's fantastic in that, absolutely amazing in that. And so, reasonably well-known New Zealand actor. And then he, as I said, he was in Attack of the Clones, but didn't really. I think I recall seeing Attack of the Clones at the cinema, but it's not something I would have. As I said, I had such a bad experience with Phantom Menace, so I kind of just left it and just. But anyway, a figure came out, the Commander Cody figure for episode 3, and I saw it in shops, and I was in. I can't remember where I was working. I might have been working in Auckland at the time. Because I guess the side story to the backstory is that we didn't used to get a lot of Star Wars stuff in New Zealand in shops at the time. We get a little bit, but not a lot. And for some reason, and I don't know whether it was because I was working in radio at the time, it was a massive big push in the media for episode 3. And they was it's the last one ever, blah blah blah. I was like, well, I've got to be a part of this, so I'll jump in. So I started grabbing all the Temuera Morrison Commander Cody figures that I could possibly grab. And I've got a few of them around here somewhere still. And so I was like, well, okay, I'm into this. I'll go see the film. And the film was okay. Like, it was fine. But it was cool to see Temuera Morrison, who's playing all the clones and blah, blah, blah. And so that was when I was like, okay, cool. I'll just, I'll leave it there. That was great fun. Thanks very much for Star Wars. And then I was working over in Dubai for a media company over there. And I was a visitor of a website called Birth Movies Death. It was called something else at the time, but they decided that they'd do a print magazine, which is 2020. You think that's baffling now, but they did a print magazine. It was to celebrate The Force Awakens. And I just remember being on the website this day and going, well, you're doing a magazine and there's a new Star Wars movie coming out? Like, what's this about? Because I was genuinely did not know anything about Force Awakens until that point.
We were so in deep on it. We were like, pouring over, like trying to find spoilers. And find nothing. It was the tightest movie set in the history of anything. Nothing leaked except what they put out in the trailers. That was it. There was nothing. Yeah, so I hadn't even seen the trailers up to that point. It was just literally just this magazine on this website, and I wasn't like a regular visitor of the website. I'd check it every now and then. Whether it was living in Dubai at the time, maybe that had something to do with it. I don't I can't really pinpoint it. But anyway, I was like, look, I'll support your magazine 100%. Looks cool. It had a cover by Mondo. I should probably go and find it for you. I'll do that in a second. But anyway, we could do a tangible corner.
We could. But anyway, I'll just turn the camera around. But anyway, so in the magazine was a full page spread in the whole magazine for Star Wars Card Trader, and it was use this code in app and you'll get a free pack. Blah 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 blah. And I was like, okay, that's interesting. Card trading. Used to do it as a kid. That'd be fun. And without a lie, turn the page, and there's an entire 2-page, 3-page article on vintage Han, and whether it was the one from the original IO9 one or whether it was a new reskin of the article, I don't know, but I was gripped by the story about how this digital card that is ostensibly lives only on this device is worth $150, and I just devoured the entire article. And at that point, I was like, well, I'm going to turn the page, I'm going to use a code, and I'm going to get a free vintage Han and retire. And
because $50 goes a long way in New Zealand.
That's like 1,000
Kiwi coins. New Zealand dollars.
Our currency is probably worth more than yours now. But
you're probably right.
But so I flipped the page, downloaded the app, and I got straight in. And as I said to you previously before your recording crapped out, without a word of a lie, had on my heart, the very first card in the app that I saw was the Wide Vision Commander Cody. And I don't know, it was just one of those happy circumstances of having his figure, and
circle of life.
Yeah, it just on a really visceral level, I was like, this is incredible. Like how does that work? And so I grabbed the card. I'm pretty sure I paid for it. I probably didn't pull it out of a pack. And that was the very first day. You could probably figure it out when my first day on the app. But that was the very first time that I ever opened the app, and that's how I met. There was a Biggs Darklighter base card, and so I thought, that's pretty cool. My name's Biggs. I'll grab Biggs, and that's how I met a user who you may or may not remember called Polaroid Geek.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's a pilot guy. He does.
Yeah.
Pilot. All the
Yeah,
pilots.
very much. And he loved him some big Starklighters. And so I started spamming him with trades for his big Starklighters, and probably at the time they would have been reasonably low count ones, and made a complete idiot of myself. And I think at some point he pulled me aside, which was very kind of him, because I was very naive and a bit silly, and my rating would have been 1 star, if that. And he said, "Hey, dude, that's not the way to do it." And he pulled me aside and explained to me, here are some things you could do, or here's packs to open, and blah, blah, blah. And he was quite generous with his time. It would have been 5 minutes or whatever. And that's when my trigger in my mind went, this is a cool community, and I want to know more about this. And so I started grabbing big space for him and sending it to him just for free. And he was really helping me out. And then I met a few months later, I met a guy called Munch Munch, who's on the Discord now. Mm-hmm. Fantastic username, by the way.
Yeah, he's a really nice guy too.
Yeah, and he's super nice. And he used to hoard Ray, and he had a really good Ray collection. I'm pretty sure he still does. But he was super generous with his time, and he said, "Hey, there's a Reddit group. Did you know about Reddit?" And as I said, I was in Dubai at the time and completely oblivious, and so I was like, "I'll go check that out." And that's how I met a guy called John Lewis, who's sadly not in the app anymore, but still a really good friend of mine. And those two really, really helped me. And then they said, "Look, hoarding, this is what hoarding is, and here are some cool cards to collect, and would you like a Del Rey?" And they were super generous with their time. And whether it was because I was from New Zealand and I was a bit of an idiot, but again, it's that person that, we come back to it, that personal connection that you make with people via this crazy app. And so I went from probably 1 star to a solid 3 stars, and then I don't know where I'm at. Still trying
now you're up to a solid 3.5 stars.
Paying my penance through 8,000 trades to finally get back to decent rating. But genuinely, like, hand on my heart, that I was a terrible trader when I first started, and I'm not.
Everybody was. I was terrible. I couldn't understand how people could have 4 of something and I couldn't have. Can I just have one? Why can't I just have one of those if you have 4 of them?
Yeah, and I remember sending a trade to John, going, "How do you have 10 of this Snootles card? Like, how does that work? Like, how do you get that many?" Like, I physically in my brain I could not figure it out. And then it was just him taking time, going, "Hey, you've actually got to play this game for a little while." And I mean, he was a day one user, probably like yourself, and so he knew everything, and was able to sort of instruct me on the way.
I have a correlating experience from my days in the Star Wars CCG. I used to be there's a game from Decipher that was devoted to, it's like Magic the Gathering. Around the same time they had a game, Decipher had a game for Star Wars. And so we were playing this at my local comic shop and kind of noodling around. It was really new. And we went to a comic convention, and they had a tournament at this comic convention. And so when I went to the comic convention and sat down at the table my first time against somebody in real life, other than my idiot friends playing in my living room, I sit across from this guy and we start playing, and boom, he whips, I'm playing light side, he's playing dark side, and boom, he whips out a Darth Vader. And then something happened, I was lucky and I killed his Darth Vader. A couple minutes later, boom, another Darth Vader comes out. Mind explodes. "You have more than one Darth Vader in your deck?" He's like, "Yeah, I have 5 Darth Vaders in my deck, man. I need to get Darth Vader out fast. My whole deck is built around Darth Vader, so I have 5 of them." And that was just insane to me. That was like a $25 card. He had $125 worth of cards just in Darth Vader, boom, in his deck. And it just blew my mind. And that's when everything just kind of changed in my head about what I was doing here. There was a different level that I had not tapped into at all.
Yeah, and it's just that one moment where you sort of like have a come to Jesus moment where you're like, "Oh, hang on a minute, like I need to talk to this person and sort of figure it out." So yeah, as I said, it was definitely Munch. It was definitely John Lewis, and then as I got further into the game, meeting people like yourself, and I'll blow smoke up your ass for a little bit rather than Dettol or whatever else you want up there.
Or light or
disinfectant. Light or disinfectant, yeah.
Please, just a light full of disinfectant, just right up the ass.
Is your skill, both via the group but also later on via Reddit and the Discord, doing your 5 minutes and fan feed and all that kind of stuff, is really cultivating a community vibe that is super friendly, super welcoming. And anybody that's not on the Discord or that doesn't listen to the podcast really should be, although you're not going to listen to Discord, listen to the podcast because we're on the podcast right now. But anyway. Right, yeah,
if you're listening to this, you should listen to podcasts that we do because they're good. And Biggs is funny.
But you have the ability to bring people together, and it's always like-minded, slightly bizarre people like myself. But you as you've said many times, in spite of the app itself, you're able to sort of, bring these disparate people together and form a community, which I think is bigger than the app itself. And in these times, shall we get some heavy framing on it? In these times, it's incredibly important to be reaching out to people both that and people overseas, because it's one of those moments in life where we're all experiencing the same thing and we're all in it together. So let's try and make these connections and get through it the best we can. And if it's downloading an app on your phone and grabbing some cards, let's do it. And that's why Crystal was saying on the podcast the other day, that's why I think we're seeing so many new users in the app, aside from the IO9 article bringing back some lapsed personalities. I think it's great, the new users that are coming through, despite the fact that some of them really need to ask some questions and maybe approach things with a little bit more.
I think I said this week, I have like a little pre-fill on my phone that's kind of, it's meant to be fun and welcoming. Welcome to the party, pal, hearkening up to, Die Hard and all that stuff. And, basically here's a series of videos that I told that are woefully outdated, but the principles that are presented in them still hold true in terms of where is value, what a cards counts and all these different things. Before we had tiers or any of that stuff, the system of values that's in those videos still holds true.
Yeah, 100%.
And so those are still worthwhile to point somebody to, and they're kind of done in a stupid, funny way. And then the 5 minutes in the fan feed, and that's where I really kind of planted my stake and decided that the people were really what was more important in this thing. Tops, all they do is fuck up and fumble around, step on their dick, and make problems. It seems like we all have to live in this tragic hotel that they've built, but we all get along. And here's a cup of sugar for you, and yeah, I'll help you put out that fire, or wash your dishes, or feed your pet while you're out of town.
It's the world's best 2-star hotel, Tops. You've built the world's best.
Yeah, you've done a great job. We're all just crawling with bed sores from the bugs and the roaches and stuff like that. But we still manage to have a fun time and get along. And the food smells in the hallway are pretty good sometimes.
Yeah, I think that's that's the best part about this stupid app that we play is the community and the people that I've met through it, and they're from all walks of life, and they're from all parts of the all parts of the country. And I think the Discord's sort of proving that that's not the exception to the norm. That we've got some amazing new users in the Discord, and some great old personalities like Dools and stuff showing up, and Sasha's dad, who I'm now your number one fan, if you're listening. You've fast become one of the most fascinating people I want to get to know, because and that's maybe that's how people saw me when I first started out, and I was like, here's this fucking idiot from New Zealand sending me base trades for 1 CCs. But yeah, I mean that's how I got started, and as I said, pretty horrific rating when I first did. But I just love the community more than the cards, in spite of the cards perhaps at times. I started hoarding Hera when I first really got into hoarding. I started hoarding Hera because of my connection with Vanessa and knowing her reasonably well, and then I met Dan Siegel, and that was Gregg's gone. He's disappeared.
I had to turn the fan off in my bathroom.
Oh yeah.
My kid was just taking a shower right when we were starting recording, and she left the fan on. So yeah,
nice. Yeah, no. Anyway, so that's how I met Dan Siegel and gave up.
Yeah, you told me you were trying to hoard Hera, and then you met Dan Siegel. I was like, that'd be the end of my hoarding Hera right there.
Well, he to be fair, and in my defense, he had just started out, and so he was behind me by, and he will tell you he was behind me by quite a margin. And I remember checking his account one day and going, hoarding Hera. Sure you are, buddy.
Oh, ain't that cute?
And I was like, adorable. I'll flick you some beans. There you go, mate. Off you go. And then I honestly, whether I would have checked in with him a couple of days later, I was like, holy fuck, this dude is dead serious.
Yeah, I think you pissed him off. Yeah, you made him mad. He's like, I'll show you, motherfucker. New Zealand asshole.
I know for quite some time, and it may still be, I need one of your researchers to cross-check this for me immediately, but I'm pretty sure I still have more pink Hera, the original season 2 Hera.
Oh wow, the pink border, or the Pepto.
Yeah. I'm almost 99.9% positive. I've still got quite a little bit of, or certainly more than he does, because I've still hung on to some just to grate him if he ever wants to come and get
be a burn. Well, you always have something to hold over him. It's like if he pulls some a one count
That's the
James,
idea.
if something like that ever existed, you could dangle that shit in front of him, and
Yeah,
he's gonna have to fucking cough it up.
I'd drop my pants for a one count James tops. If you're listening, just letting you know. There he is. Look at that handsome man. Jamie Beamish is his name, and he's the fucking nicest Irishman I've ever met in my life.
That was a great interview you did with
What
him.
a cool guy. What
It
a cool
must have
guy.
just completely blown his wheels to think that he had a fan, let alone one that was so devoted to him. It was really an amazing story to see that all come around, because you've always been, it's been a very pure thing. You've always been like, this is hilarious.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to do this to have fun. And you did this to have fun. And then here's this incredibly fun thing of this guy, sees that you're talking about him online, and it must've been a blast for him. And then boom, here's this connection.
And he didn't know anything about it. He had no idea that he was in the guidebook, let alone that he was in the card trading app until basically 6 weeks after Rise of Skywalker. Like, it's just, it's the whole story is mind boggling. The reason why I started with, because this is all about me, Gregg. The reason why I started hoarding, the reason why I started hoarding James was because I got a trade. And I can't remember who the user was, but he really liked Death Troopers from Rogue One. I can't remember the user. He'll know who it is if he's listening. But anyway, he sent me a trade, and it was abysmal. And one of the cards in that trade, because I must have had some low count Death Trooper. We'll say that's a story because that sounds interesting. But in his trade was this Bose-Dean James that had literally just dropped that morning. And so, because I log in my morning, your night. So I log in first thing, and it just happened to be that I was in the app in the morning, and it was like a 5 count or something at the time. I can't remember. But I just remember looking and going, oh, that's quite a low count card. And then when I looked into it, I was like, hang on a minute. This is
yeah, it's because it dropped 5 seconds ago.
It literally dropped 5 seconds ago. So I sort of paused on the accept, and I just messaged the guy. I was like, hey, I'm not an idiot, blah, blah, blah. And then this dude went off at me in the trade. He was like, you should accept this, blah, 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 blah. It's a really low count card, blah, blah, blah. Just basically trying to pull the wool over my eyes. Wow. So I remember hitting some of the guys up on Twitter going, this is hilarious. Like, check this out. And then it just kind of hit me like was like, this card is insane. Like this
who is this guy? Well, I mean, like you said in the transmission, people were like, the first day it's Krennic and it's a really nice looking card, and then there's this bozo the next day, and everyone's like, what the fuck is this?
And I mean, all due respect to Jamie Beamish, whom I love dearly now, but every single character after that was useless. They were absolute nobodies, and the set just continued to get worse and worse and worse and worse.
Well, they didn't have decraniateds in that set, did they? Do you remember those?
You leave my Jedi weirdos alone. Thank you very much. But that's what I love about the app, is that you get these cards that are fucking ridiculous, that you would never ever see in physical life at all. But isn't that what the original toys were like? When the original toys for A New Hope came out, there were all these bizarre characters that nobody knew of anyway. And that's what made some of them popular. And I think that's what's great about the app, is that you can get Jamie Beamish on a fucking card, and he's got no idea about it. And there's 2,000 of them out there. So ostensibly 2,000 people have his picture on their phone.
Well, I'm desperately awaiting Topps to come out with the HBO movie Recount card trader app. At which point my star turn as a Secret Service agent in Florida in that will come to light, and I'll have a card, and I'll do an autograph for it. It's going to be great. So yeah.
Please.
I have literally like a half a second of screen time for 2 miserable days.
Well, and on that, if you can get the Lord of the Rings license, I am in Lord of the Rings. Every other, just about as every other New Zealander is in Lord of the Rings. I too am in.
I would kill for a Lord of the Rings card trader app, because we're huge ringers. We're like enormous ringers, and I have like like mountains of physical of that, and all the SIGs, and I'm just like crazy. We're nuts for Lord of the Rings.
I think it would go off. You imagine all the concept art and stuff that Weta Digital has. There's a whole.
We're on the nostalgia curve now. I mean, those
very much so. Yeah,
they came out in the early 2000s, right at 2000, in fact, and we're at that 20-year mark where things really take off in terms of nostalgia. I'm seeing a big recurrence when I was talking about Star Wars CCG. That's made a huge comeback, and the collector's market on that stuff is blown up. and I'm sick
Right.
as a dog because there's unopened boxes that I sold years ago for $100, $200. Those things are going for $1,500, $1,600 for a
All the
box
way.
of that stuff. It's killing me.
No,
But
man.
we're definitely on that nostalgia curve for Lord of the Rings. So it really would be interesting to see that come in as a property. And especially there's going to be an Amazon show coming.
Yeah. Well, I think now's the time for that, because I think it's quite separate to the Peter Jackson films.
Yeah, it's
I don't-
Silmarillion is what I understand. It's based on
yeah,
the
yeah,
Silmarillion.
yeah, yeah. Still being filmed in New Zealand, by the way. Yeah. No. So yeah, I played a Rohan soldier in Return of the King, and I think because the casting, I've got the casting director's card here, but I was working basically a Walmart job at the time. And I had to do the math very quickly in my head, which, as you know, I'm very good at.
Yeah, yeah, that's why we're talking so late.
That's why I talk so. But the amount of money I would earn for being an extra on Lord of the Rings was slightly less than my essentially Walmart job. And I went, fuck it, it's Lord of the Rings. I don't care. I'll go and do
Right,
it.
yeah. I mean, when are you going to get to be in something like that?
100%. So I got all kitted out, Rohan Soldier, blah, blah, blah. And I remember on the form when I first auditioned for it, this is probably 2 years before I actually was an extra, on the form, they had all these tick boxes, and, can you do this, blah, 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 blah. And one of the sections was, can you horse ride? Do you own a horse? Will you supply the horse for use during the film? We asked you. And of course, I ticked
like
the
a
box.
motherfucker.
1, 2, 3. Of course I do. I remember getting
I
a
have
call.
a fleet of horses, and I ride them all. And sometimes I ride 2 horses at once.
They ride me. That's how good I am. And so I remember the casting director pulled me aside and said, actually, on your form, you said that you've got horses and you could ride horses. Are you able to bring some back for the following day? And I went, one of them's sick.
They probably had a lot of sick horses. There were a lot of sick horses.
So I said, it's probably too risky to bring them. But I said, I can absolutely ride a horse. I had no idea. And she said, well, we're filming a week later. Can you come back down again and we'll put you on a horse and ride around, blah, blah. I was like, sure, no worries. Gregg, I've never sat on a horse in my life. Not once.
So did you run out and get riding lessons real quick?
That's exactly what I did. So I found a riding school in Auckland where I was living at the time. And she was an ex-Olympic gold medalist, blah, blah. I was like, look, hey, here's a funny story for you. And she just thought it was hilarious. She was like, I'll teach you how to ride a horse in a week. No worries. She's like, you've got no chance. She's like, I'll teach you how to sit safely on one. And if you have to move, good luck to you, but I'll give you a go. And she said, if you fall off, it's probably the best thing that'll happen to you because you'll never do it again. But anyway, so I went down to Wellington the next weekend, and they stuck me on a horse, and thankfully I didn't have to ride the fucking thing or gallop or anything, but they all parked us all in the line. So in Return of the King, there's a scene where Aragorn walks up and down the line. And he's giving this big speech.
Yeah, and they slap down with the swords on the line.
Yep. So one of those guys is me.
That's amazing. That's one of our favorite scenes.
Yeah.
Crystal is the biggest Aragorn fan.
Right. Yeah.
She's sick in the head for Viggo Mortensen, and that scene is one of her favorites, where they're like he's riding down the line and they're slapping the swords with his sword and stuff, which that kind of it's got some connotations there now that I think about it.
My youngest daughter's just walked in. She wants to come and meet you.
Hey, how you doing, beautiful? How are you?
Say hi.
Hi.
Say hi. Yeah.
Oh my.
Do you like Star Wars too? You like Star Wars too? No.
No.
No. But yeah. So you go find Mum. No, you want to stay with us? You can stay with us and hear my Lord of the Rings.
She could stay. She's a good kid.
But yeah. So that was my that was my Lord of the Rings tale. Anyway, I was in that scene, and then I was in the first week I was there. I was just like a dead Rohan soldier on the ground. I just had a life story.
No, that's my favorite scene. All the dead. Yeah, Crystal likes the one with Aragorn, but I really like it when all the guys are all dead. I love it.
And the camera would just swing down and pan over us, and then they did it like it was the assistant director doing it at the time, and he would do it 3 or 4 times. But the only reason why I remember doing that scene was because there was these 2 British guys that were on their OE at the time. And we were eating in the tent afterwards, and they were like, so what scene were you in? Blah blah blah. I was like, I've got no fucking idea. I was dead body on the ground. And these guys, without a word of a lie, they had a diary, and they were traveling the country doing extras work on Lord of the Rings, and they were taking like the name of the camera operator and the scene that they were in, and blah 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 blah. But anyway, on the actual extended edition DVD, those big box sets, I'm apparently credited on there. I've never looked, but apparently
we have those too.
So there you go. See if you find it. But apparently I'm credited on there because they took the name of all the extras that did work for more than 2 days or 2 days or more, and they credited it, and you're credited on the extended edition DVD. So somewhere on there is AwBiggs on.
This is how pitiful we are. Okay, for Lord of the Rings, there was a fan club here, which was also run by the I think it was run by the company that did the cards that we did. It was run by Decipher because they had a card game for it, and they also ran the fan club. And there was a thing that you could do in the fan club if you were a charter member of the fan club, where at the end of the extended edition, after all those millions of other credits, they had a fan club credit list, and we're on there. Both of us.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. That's
and
brilliant.
my mom is on there as well because she's a huge ringer. My mom's an enormous huge ringer, loves the books and in love with the movies and stuff. Just huge.
Tops, now's your chance to make some cash. Get that license. Let's do it. Let's.
It's probably not that expensive. I mean, maybe it is now with the Amazon thing, but the Amazon thing's probably on hold for a while because of lockdown.
Did they ever even do physical trading cards for Lord of the Rings?
Yes, they did. I have, tons of mountains of them. Tops did them. Tops.
Oh, they did.
License. Yes, they did.
Well, there we go.
They did they did it for the first movie, and I have all the autographs from that set except one. Because Dominic Monaghan, of all the fucking goobers, his was the hardest one to get because he didn't sign very much. He was too busy, I don't know, drinking or whatever. He didn't fucking sign hardly any cards. And so they were impossible to get. That card, his dumbass, Mr. hasn't been in hardly anything since. Yeah. It's like an $1,100 card.
Really? Wow.
Now, I have Gandalf, I've got Viggo Mortensen, I've got Sean Bean. I mean, like big guys,
that's cool. That's cool.
And then Dominic Monaghan's the one I didn't get. That was the one I had to wait until. And I had a whole racket back in those days when those first came out. Tops in physical is just as hapless as they have ever been in digital. And it's safe to tell now. But at the time, if you got your hands on a fresh box, a retail box, because you could find retail boxes of cards, and they had special. The Saruman card was only in the retail versions that you would find at Walmart, Books A Million, Target, shit like that. So if you got first cut at a box, you could buy one of each pack design, open it, and whichever one, and if you had a chase card in it, all the other chase cards would be in that wrapper design for that box. So you could buy just 1/3 of the box. And if you got lucky, then that's where you'd get the SIGs. That's where you get the autographs from. So that's where I got like Saruman. That's where I got Sean Bean. It was quite a racket. And I would buy up, I would go from store to store to store doing this racket and getting all the SIGs, or the costume cards were even worse. They had costume cards that if you got the pack and you just flexed it a little bit, if it didn't flex because it was so stiff because there was a costume card or an 1/8 of an inch thick inside of it, just buy that one pack. And then you'd take it, rip it open. Okay, this one I already have. I'd sell that on eBay, go out and buy more packs.
That's nuts. That's great. Well, if nothing, we've proven that there's a demand for it out there with two people. So Tops, it's still Lord of the Rings.
Well,
I'll sign some cards as Rohan Solky
flex
number
my
42.
phone, or look at the wrappers or whatever.
Love it. It's great. I had no idea. That's how oblivious I am to the physical card. I don't have. Again, it's. I think it's part of being in New Zealand, but physical trading cards very rarely make it down. I mean, they will be here, but they'll be in very specialist stores, probably in Auckland or Wellington. But certainly, I don't have a lot of physical card. I mean, I used to collect Batman when Batman came out, and I did cricket. I was telling before.
The cute little cards of crickets.
New Zealand and Australian cricket trading cards and stuff, and Australian rules. But I do have one of my older hoards was my space
space butterflies. Yeah, space butterflies, which are actually like some kind of Jeddah pilgrim or something like that.
Yeah. Basically, I mean, I think they were in the film for about a second. Again, I love these characters that are barely in the films. But yeah, so that's a Phil Hasselwhite art one. So I got that one just prior to the lockdown. If I brought that any later, it would still not be here. So I'm very lucky. But so I don't really do a lot of physical stuff. I mostly do collect in terms of I was really big into Transformers as a kid, and so
that's
and
what I hear, and that's one that like I completely leapfrogged, because that was in the kind of the mid to late 80s, and at that time I was like in my 20s. I was very much not interested in toys or robots, or I just wanted to get laid. I had no interest in toys or anything like that. And then after a certain point, I had enough sex where I could get interested in robots again.
sad indictment of my youth at the time. But when I remember the Transformers movie was my very first movie as a kid. And I was very young at the time, but my grandfather and grandmother took me along to it. And I guarantee you, hand on my heart, knowing my grandfather, he had no fucking clue what was going on the whole time. But God bless them, they both took me along, and it just blew my mind. And so from that point onwards, I was like, look, I want to have all the bumblebees in the world. And Transformers are really expensive in New Zealand. They still are, because of, again, where they had to ship from and stuff. But yeah, so I've still got up here somewhere. There he is. I've still got my original Bumblebee from when I was a kid, and he's still alive and well looked after. And I've probably got about another 100 different designs they're up on the shelf up there. But yeah, about another 100.
Where you're at in the world, you probably got a lot of the ones from Takara as well.
Yes.
So ones directly from Asia.
I've got original Takara. I think that's an original one. Well, I could be wrong. Someone will tell me if I'm not. That one there, I'm pretty sure, is one of the original Takara ones. And then I've put the sticker on that one. And then I've got I went to Singapore, I want to say 6 years ago, and that's a real big hub for Transformers fans, and there's an entire department store, 3 levels. Every single shop, without a word of a lie, is Transformers toys. It's
God.
Mind-boggling.
Oh my
and
God.
I remember
many dollars died that day.
My wife was like, I can't do this, can you just set me up, on the iPad somewhere, and I'll just take myself, because because I said to her, I'm going floor to ceiling, like, we're going to do this. And so I just walked the whole. It was amazing, and they every single shop sold pretty much the same stuff. They're just none of the price was none of the items were priced, and so you had to barter, and it was great fun. I had a blast.
Oh, wow, yeah, that'd be a blast. That's like, God dang, it's like a professional flea market. That's great.
Yeah, it really was. It's a phenomenal shop, and they had big art busts and and you could get little bags of figures for like for a Singapore dollar or whatever. It was bonkers. It was a really amazing store. I'm pretty sure it's still there, but I got a few things that day, and then
well, guess what? There's nobody there now.
Yeah.
The rent's been due for about 2 months now, and it's not looking good.
They've all taken their toys and gone home.
Yeah, but yes, they'll have to just throw everything away and move out. They'll get it. Just throw it all in the back and leave. And out.
Yeah, no. So that was my thing as a kid was Transformers, and then just collecting sort of a fair few of those, and then Lego Star Wars when that was released around about Phantom Menace time. I just had to grab it all.
About 1999 or 2000 when the Legos first started coming out, and it's
so
really amazing to think that they didn't anticipate the demand for that license on those products, and even more
bonkers that New Zealand, because of time differences and shipping schedules, was one of the first countries in the world to actually get the Lego Star Wars things in shops. And so I remember Mum or Dad came home with the Anakin's little yellow Star
the pod racer and stuff.
Yeah, brought it home and go check this out. And again, like, I hadn't seen the film, it was all prior to the film and stuff. I was like, this is really cool. And so built that. And I was like, oh, look, it comes with little lightsabers and blah, blah. So I grabbed a whole bunch of those, and I've still got the figures around here somewhere. But
you didn't go, this isn't a Millennium Falcon. Bah!
Well, I did that. I did that one Christmas with Transformers. And I said to, again, I was very little at the time, but I remember saying to Mum and Dad, I really want a transforming Stegosaurus. And they were like, you want a what? I was like, I want one of the Dinobots, the Stegosaurus and changes and blah, blah, blah. And they're like, yeah, no worries. And I remember Santa, quote unquote Santa, brought me a Transformer and a Stegosaurus.
Okay. Let me transform this Stegosaurus into your ass.
Yeah.
Because I'm pissed and you ruined Christmas.
So I remember the very next Christmas, I remember being very specific and going, I want Soundwave. Now, this is what it looks like.
Here's the page from the catalog, from the Sears catalog. That was my thing when I was a kid. The Sears catalog would come, the wish book and we could
Yeah.
go through and we would dog ear pages and circle
Oh, what a great idea! Brilliant.
the things we wanted, and then we would just leave we were under orders. And so that's and so like my age was Planet of the Apes, the Mego figures. Have you ever seen those? The 8-inch Mego figures? That was my shit. That's the stuff that we had. And so the Planet of the Apes came out as a TV show, and so they had figures for that, and it was kind of tied into the original movies as well. Yeah. And so there were shitloads of those, and they were great figures because they had great hands. Yes. And they could hold weapons, and they could hold on to a string or a twig. And I'm hanging from a tree. Because all my guys, they always were in danger of falling to their deaths, and then they would. That was the only thing that ever happened to any of my guys. They were in a precarious position, and then they die, and then they'd be in this horrifying contortion on the ground, and I'd laugh. Yeah. Do it again. Brilliant. Do it again. Brilliant. They were really, really well built toys, and they had cloth outfits and stuff.
I was just going to say they were the ones that had the cloth costumes and stuff. Yeah.
So
have you still got any of them?
Back and forth. What's that?
Have you still got them?
I still have a ton of them. Yeah, I have a bunch of them in the closet. I lost all the ones in my originals, but when I first came back into really collecting toys, I went back. I went right back to those, and I have a few rare ones. Like there's a silver gorilla soldier. Where he's got like a dark gray outfit, and it was some kind of retail exclusive. Nobody really knows exactly what the deal was. And then there was different print variations on some of the gorilla soldiers, where they had a batch of vinyl with like an alligator skin pattern on it. Well, fuck it, just get it out of the factory, just use it on the stupid ass ape figures and do those. And they put them out, and they're just like really hard to find. So I was really into that, and then I should have done a loose collection of Star Wars action figures, because when I first got back into toy collecting, those were around, and I was going to garage sales, I was going to flea markets, and you could pick up loose Star Wars action figures in the late 80s, early 90s for $3 and $4 a pop at the most. Yeah. I mean, that was the most you would pay, and at a garage sale, you get them for 50 cents.
Yeah, my dad came home with a C-3PO. When I was a kid, and he got it from he got it from a flea market as well, and I think I mean if you paid $1 for it, you paid $1 for it, you know what I mean? But you could pick them up reasonably easily, and really nice ones too. And the Luke Skywalker with the
extending saber and all that stuff.
Yeah, I've got one of those around somewhere as well. And again, same thing. Dad picked it up from a garage sale or something and brought it home for me because he knew I like Star Wars. So.
Well, I was really into the comic figures, the Toy Biz, the X-Men, and Marvel superheroes and stuff like that. And I liked Star Wars. Yes. But I knew that path lay madness, because there was a carded market, and I could see what was going on with that. And I knew it would drive me crazy, and I'd spend too much money. And I probably should have done it anyways, because it's pennies on the dollar for what it is now. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
But my love of the superhero figures actually led me into an actual job in the toy industry as a sculptor. So it worked out okay. It worked out okay.
Yeah, it's incredible. I just think collecting leads you in so many different directions, and here we are. We're talking about digital collecting now, which is in a completely different direction entirely. But
experiences like that have taught me that following your heart is never the wrong decision.
No,
you're really going to get more out of it right away, and in the long term, I think, from something that you really care about. If you really go for that thing. You're going to be fine, whether it ends up being worth anything to anybody else in your life. You're always going to have that enjoyment from it, and you're going to find people that are into that as well, and you're going to share that enjoyment, and it gets better and better. It's a good deal.
And your kids love it. Like, there's nothing more than my girls love is coming in here and looking up, floor to ceiling. I'll take a picture and send it to you a little bit later. But they stare and they go, "Daddy, what's that? Daddy, what's that?" It's all. When they're teenagers, they'll hate me for it. But at the moment, it's extraordinary that Daddy has all this.
Yeah, you got to carry it. You got to handle it with kid gloves too. My kid's been really very sensitive. She's super smart. She's really sensitive to feeling like something's been pushed on her.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's one of the main things. And my wife and I talked about it, but even before we had kids, I was like, I don't really want them to get into any of the stuff that I'm into, because I found it on my own. Mum and Dad never pushed any of that on me, and so I sort of want her to find her own thing. She loves Aladdin. That's her thing at the moment. She just loves Aladdin. We've got her some little Funko Aladdin things, and she really likes Frozen, as just about every 4-year-old girl.
Mine has dragged me into realms of collecting and fandom that I never expected. When the My Little Pony show came on, it hit her right at the exact right time. She was like 3 and 4 years old when that started coming on. And it was a really cute show, really good songs, brightly colored. She was really attracted to it right away as soon as she saw it. And I was watching, I'm in the room, I'm stay-at-home dad, I'm with her, and she's watching this thing. And I got really into it. I got really hooked on My Little Pony. I became a brony. And she's all about Twilight Sparkle. I'm all about Rainbow Dash, and it's a blast. And like we really enjoyed that show all the way through its lifespan. It's like the perfect little girl time in her life that we got to enjoy together and have so much fun with. And so then I'm on the quest. I'm out. I drop her off at day school and when she goes into kindergarten, I'm out looking for My Little Pony toys that she's after and stuff like that. And oh look, now they have these little tiny sparkle ponies that are this big. And now we have like 300 of the goddamn things. She's got the best pony collection you've ever seen. It's amazing.
Encourage her. I love it. I just think it's brilliant. Lara's watching this program at the moment, Starbeam on Netflix. It's only one season or whatever. I think she's watched all the episodes all the way through, like 4 times each. But she'll sing the song now. And so we go on our quarantine scooter ride, sort of, around the park, and she sings the song all the way there and all the way back. Come on, Netflix, give me some figures. Now's my time to strike.
She moved from that then to Pokemon, and she was and playing all the games, and she still plays the video games when they come out. Loves those. And, so that kind of dragged me into learning stuff about Pokemon, which I'd never had. That's another whole
fucking
crazy realm of collectibles and stuff like that. And now she's kind of like off onto her own little things. But a week or so ago, it was about a week or so ago, she was having trouble going to sleep. And I said, well, why don't you let me read you a page of this book that I really like? And I'll just read you just one page, and maybe that'll help you go to sleep. Yeah. So I read her the first page of the book Dune by Frank Herbert.
Oh, brilliant. Yes.
This is one of my all-time favorite books, and it's beautifully written. And the first page is really just like kind of like plants a lot of hooks in you right away. And so I read this page to her, and then like a couple of days later, she had trouble sleeping again. And she's like, I'm having trouble sleeping. I was like, well, why don't you read? And she goes, well, what should I read? I was like, why don't you read Dune? And so she reads a little bit of Dune, and now she's about 70 pages in, more than that on this book. And every night now when she goes to bed, she wants to read Dune, and she's reading it. She's got questions, and we're talking about who's this guy? Ooh, this Liet Kynes. I don't know if he's any good. And I'm like, oh no, he's really good. And all this stuff, and really having a great time. Because it's so deep, and there's a movie coming, and I'm really
I was gonna say now's the time to strike for that too, because
it's perfect. And I'm giving Crystal shit because when we were talking about Lord of the Rings, before Lord of the Rings came out, she had never read Lord of the Rings. She knew nothing about Lord of the Rings.
Wow.
Crystal, you have to read this shit. It's the classic stuff. I mean, so many other things that you like are based off this, are stolen from this. Yes. You have to read it. And so, okay, well, I'll read it before the movie comes out. So she reads them before the movie comes out, and then the movie comes out, blown up. She's got all the characters in her mind, reads the books again. Now she's read the Silmarillion. She speaks Sindarin. It's crazy. She went way fucking into it, way deeper than I ever dreamed of. So she's got a deadline, before the movie comes out, she needs to read Dune.
There's only 2 of those classics that I think you have to have read at least once in your lifetime, and the other one is C.S. Lewis's Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe, because those 2 authors were super good friends, but also that their books are just about every movie ever made calls, and Frank Herbert's Dune as well to some extent for sci-fi. They call upon that source material all the time, and you see it echoed again and again and again and again.
It's funny that they were contemporaries, but I feel like Tolkien just like blew him out of the water in terms of his knowledge, his knowledge of ancient history and stuff like that was so much more. C.S. Lewis just kind of went in a pretty ham-handed allegory of Christian teaching. And that's really all those books really are. And they're really, Aslan is Jesus. It's right
Tolkien fought in a war too. So I mean, he had some slightly more in-depth life experience to call upon when he was writing. But I just think they're both, especially for kids, they're such good books to read because they give you a really good grounding for literature as you grow up. I remember, mum and dad always making sure that I'd read Lord of the Rings and C.S. Lewis and Dune as well. Dad's a big fan of Dune and stuff. So, yeah, I don't know. I sort of sometimes think I found sort of Star Wars and Transformers on my own, but perhaps looking back a little bit deeper, maybe I didn't.
Well, it's funny because I'm seeing people now, that this Dune movie's coming out, and people are going, "Oh, well, that's just a ripoff of Star Wars." And I'm like, wait.
No.
That shit up. Okay, let's go back to 1966. Okay, Desert Planet, all that stuff. That was there first, man. Come on.
That's going to be their challenge, though. Making that film is to make it not look or feel like Star Wars when they do it, and not, that's going to be.
Have you seen any of the stills?
Yeah, I've seen a couple of them. Yeah.
It looks cool. I like the look of what I'm seeing, and I love the casting.
Love the actors. Yeah.
A lot of people are, a lot of old timers that are into Dune that aren't happy with the casting and stuff, and I have such trust in this director. Have you seen the Blade Runner 2049?
Yes, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
It's a fantastic
so good.
movie.
Yeah.
It may actually, in some ways, be better than the original. And that's almost blasphemy to say that. But it's really very cohesive, and it grows on you. The first time I watched it, I was kind of like, I don't know if I really like that. And the next time I watched it, I loved it even more. And he's going back to a lot of actors that he liked in that. But
that's very much what Blade Runner was like originally, because I remember seeing that cinema walking out going, what the fuck was that? Was it terrible? And then a couple of weeks later, it was still on my mind. Ad Astra is another modern film that I've seen that was like that. I remember looking at Ad Astra going, what the fuck was that? And it was just playing on my mind the whole time. And I've watched Ad Astra now probably half a dozen times, and Blade Runner probably 24 times. And then seeing, the new one in the cinema, exactly that same sort of experience was going, I'm not sure if I like that, but it was really good. And then watching it again and again and going, actually, this is a really clever movie, Dune, much the same.
I've watched a couple of movies, once I found out who they cast as Paul Atreides, I went and looked up this Timothée Chalamet and started looking up some of the movies that he's been in. And there's this really stupid movie called like Hot Wet Summer or some fucking shit like that. I can't remember the name of it now. It's really stupid. It's about these guys in high school selling weed and getting involved in the drug industry, and then there's betrayals and stuff like that. But in the course of this movie, he starts out as kind of like this, almost like this, freshman in high school kid who looks really innocent, and by the end of the movie, he kind of takes this sinister turn, and you see the weight that this kid has in terms of range and what he can do. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh fuck, he's going to be amazing as Paul Atreides, because that's exactly the character. He starts out as this spoiled pup, and by the end of the thing, he's this leader of men, this amazing Lawrence of Arabia character almost. Really cool. I'm dying for it. I mean, like fuck, I'm gonna do a podcast just about Dune starting then, because doing this going, oh God, I fucking love Dune so much. Oh shit.
I will join you on it and do this in the background.
You can do that too. Or you can be the guy who goes, what's the deal with this Dune thing? Steel suit. Where do they poop? They poop right in the suit.
Because they had the original, they had the computer game as well. I remember playing that. It was sort of like sort of Command and Conquer style. It was really
good. It was actually it came out before Command and Conquer.
Right.
And it was the template for that, and then they de-skinned and put it out as Command and Conquer, and it became this huge hit. But I remember playing the shit out of that.
Well. Yeah, I loved it. And then obviously as a if you heard the podcast the other day, I found out Vanessa was in that one. So that's a crazy connection.
I'm not sure if she was in that one. I think she was actually in a later one. There was a later one that was almost like an RPG.
Right.
They had because you could choose different. And when she said that about the houses, I'm pretty sure that's the one that she was in, because they have little video bits, little cutscenes where with different. You'd have a mentat from your different house.
Yes.
And I think she may have been in that one.
I have to do some.
I played all those. There was 2 or 3. There was the Command and Conquer one, and then
I loved Command and Conquer. That was my it was pretty much my entire college years was.
And there was another one that was like that I used to play called Total Annihilation. Did you ever play that one?
No.
It was amazing. Yeah, it was really good. I mean,
it sounds amazing.
Total Annihilation. Yeah. but they were all kind of hacks to that one. So you could like speed up your units and stuff and just spam the shit out of it. And you just, you build up to nuclear weapons like in 5 minutes, and all these other guys are in the Stone Age, and then you just fucking lay waste to them. It was great. Very godlike feeling.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, no, they get Command and Conquer, and I loved I loved all those simulation games as well. They were great fun. I don't play enough games these days. That's my only flaw. I'm too adult with when you get kids and you have to be responsible.
Well, you seem to like the what is it, the
Assassin's Creed. Yeah. Well, that's
I still have not played that one. Now you play the Egypt one.
Yeah, so I'm a big sucker for history, and I play I pretty much played them all the way through. But then they released the Egypt one, Assassin's Creed Origins, and Egypt's my it's my second home, if you will. That's I've been there. I've been very fortunate enough to have been there twice, and it's just an incredible place. And so when they were doing an Egypt one, I was like, yep, I'm all in on that one. No worries about that.
Yeah, because you're always posting screenshots and stuff, and it's just kind of like, oh my God, that looks amazing. I've played a couple of those, and I didn't like them because of the QuickTime events.
So
I suck at those. I suck at those. They're infuriating. It's like, okay, this, and I get like this dead, this dead, this dead, and after like the 50th time, I'm just like, oh, okay, wow, this is a really fun game. I'm stuck. I can't get any further.
There's not too many of them in the more modern ones. I think the last amount of that was the second one they did, or the third one, I can't remember now. But the original, there's a trilogy of games called the Ezio trilogy, quote unquote, and that's just pure history nerd, just fun. It's great, and the stories are really I prefer games much like Dune that are quite comprehensive and have a good sort of story basis to them. And so the Assassin's Creed games are excepting a few, all have really nice deep storylines of characters and sort of rooted in sort of historical facts. So it's quite fun to play them and then learn a little bit more about it. I used to hate history when I was a kid in school, and now I just devour it. I've got an entire wall full of
fascinating. It's history. You see
whatever.
How human nature stays so true through
doesn't change,
centuries and eons. I mean, people really are very much the same.
Creatures of habit.
Yeah, it's crazy, and good and bad.
What has happened before will always happen again. That's the one thing that history teaches you. So you learn from it, or you die from it. But I love sort of Assassin's Creed.
Well, that's a happy note to end this show.
On that note, we're all dying of coronavirus.
Learn from history, you're all gonna fucking die. Welcome back to 1917. Congratulations.
No, I think if anything, we'll get through it because we're all sitting on Star Wars Card Trader app all day, every day, sending trades and
geeks will rule the world.
We will. If we don't, if we don't already, we do now. But yes, no.
Well, it's funny. It feels like we really do. I mean, when I was talking about my early days and collecting Planet of the Apes and stuff like that. I was doing that when kids my age weren't still doing that, and then when I was doing the superheroes and stuff like that, I was way too old to be doing that stuff. Reading comic books and all that kind of stuff. I mean, nerds were really looked down on for a long time. And I've been really lucky over the course of my life to see geeks take over. And now we rule like mass media. All the shit that I was totally into as comic books in the 70s and 80s and 90s and stuff like that, that's the biggest fucking movies in the world now. Geek shit like Lord of the Rings. I mean, why would we just walk around with books like that in 1980 in Ackworth, Georgia, and people, wanted to fucking beat my ass just for having it, just for walking around with it, like waving that freak flag high. And now that's everything. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. It's crazy.
And now kids have to have, superhero backpacks. If you're not going to school with, Iron Man on your back, you're an idiot, Right. Yeah. And on the flip side as well, Greg, it's perfectly acceptable to be 38 years old and have a giant Millennium Falcon just sitting on your desk. This is absolutely acceptable. Perfectly normal.
I have one near to hand, but I won't.
Yeah. I just happen to have one sitting around.
I'll show you my tangible corner.
Go on, you show me yours, and I'll put my Star Wars Story, the best Star Wars film.
So what I have here is it looks like a little coffin.
I was just gonna say, yeah. I like it.
It says on it, Uncle Creepy. It's got an engraved plate on it that says Uncle Creepy.
Yes.
And when you open it up inside, I actually have the original rings that you could buy in the Creepy Eerie magazines.
Wow.
It's like a special case just to hold those. The Creepy and the Eerie magazines were these horror comics from the 1970s, and you could order
Wow.
these shitty little rings for like $1. And these
That's
are these
awesome.
pristine examples of these shit ass rings that shouldn't still exist.
That's amazing. I love it.
And I actually still have, it's not my original, but I have my, get the glare off here. I have my
Oh, yes, I can
fan
see
club
it.
card. And
Wow.
it's one that has nobody filled it out. Usually it has, the name, and they're individually numbered, and you were supposed to put your name on it. And I still have one that hasn't actually been written on.
Brilliant.
Yeah. So like that's quite a thing to have.
You win. I'll put my Millennium Falcon away.
Geek level 12, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah. Wow.
So like we're man, I could talk to you like literally. We could have a 6-hour.
Oh, I was just going to say we should probably call it. We should probably call it there.
I know, yeah. I don't even know how long we've
anything.
been going, but it's been great, and I love talking to you, and I thank you so much for everything that you've
That's
done for the show, and and in the community, and on the Discord and stuff like that. You're an awesome dude. You're like my brother from another mother. I just cannot thank you enough.
Well, I swear to God, we're related sometimes. Some of the things I think,
it's really weird. I mean, different accents, but the same kind of fucked up attitude. It's really good.
Well, I don't know if we'd say that.
Okay, we have the same accents. Yeah. Gregg.
Close enough.
Yeah. I picked up a couple of things over the course of the last 40 hours we've been talking. So I do, when I have folks on, I like to give them a moment of a platform. You're used to platform. You're all over the fucking world with your voice and stuff like that. But in terms of speaking to the community, if there's anything that you'd like to lay out, go for it, bro.
No, I just think now's a really good opportunity for everybody, as our Prime Minister keeps going about, just to be a little bit kinder to everybody, I think. And I think with all the new users in the app and stuff, I think thinking back to, how I started in the app and, was absolutely god-awful, though I have zero patience for people these days. From time to time, I think, with all these new users, and let's embrace them. Let's invite them to this Discord and get them involved with people like yourself. And those 5 minutes in the fan feed videos, if you haven't watched them, they're brilliant. They're absolutely hilarious.
It's like a history of the app too.
Yeah,
I mean, I look back at some of the things that people were so pissed off about like 3 years ago, and now it's like, oh, really? You're mad about that? Wow.
Yeah. I think you do a tops. You do tops a really good service there, and sort of archiving some of the history of the app there and stuff as well. And they could do worse than reach out to you for some ideas and things at time to time. But I think my best advice to anybody playing is join the Discord, not a Discord, our Discord. Because I think there's a great little community there, and we're building it slowly. And Reddit to a certain extent as well is really good. But I think if you want to learn about the app and play it seriously, there's dozens of users there that'll embrace you and take you under their wing, and it's a great little app. And as I said, what makes it great is the people like yourself and the community and Crystal and Adam and everybody else that you interact with every day. That's what makes it the best Star Wars community on the internet. And whilst we all recover from this global pandemic, make the most of it and make some friends and get some cards
and have some fun.
Yeah, have some fun. Yeah,
fucking have a laugh once in a while.
Yeah. Send me some vintage Sith troopers. If you
send him some Jeems.
Send me some Jeems.
Take them Jeems.
Jeems.
Put Jeems back on. There you go.
There he is.
Handsome Jeems. Ta-da!
Shout out to the one and only Jamie Beamish.
Yeah, buddy. Well, I really want to thank you very much for spending some time, a lot of time with me today. And I like we should just schedule this just for you and me every couple of days. That would really make me a lot happier person right now.
Yeah, exactly.
With you for a while about stuff.
Apologies to anybody still listening to this absolute drivel.
I think they're probably still with us. We're great. We're fun.
I hope so.
I think they're great. So, folks, if you're out there and you'd like to get in on this kind of fun, I don't know if you can measure up, honestly, but the fucking Pepsi challenge, and reach out to me at hoardcast@gmail.com. See me in the app. I'm Ted Salas. I'm there all the time. I have nothing better to do. We'll reach out to Biggs at either one of those places. Look for us on Twitter. Send us a message. Yell out the window. Throw a rock at a passing car. There's not many cars passing by right now. So.
No, I was just going to say, yeah, keep a 2 meter distance, but throw the rocks. It'd be fine.
If you can't throw a rock 2 meters, you're fucking pitiful.
The virus has already got you at that point.
Yeah. Well, thanks again, Biggs. I really do appreciate
Cheers, man.
spending time with me, buddy. I just love you, bro.
Same here. Nothing but love.
All right. I'll talk to you soon.
Cheers, buddy. Bye.
We are Legion.
We are all.
We are one.
We are
Watching.
Watching.